So you can also call your friends who wants to be part of this webinar. You can inform them. It's going to start in 5 minutes. Okay. So we are waiting for some more people to join. We'll start at 8, 8:05.
Good evening, Akash.
Hi, Shankar Gar. Hi. Thanks for joining.
Okay.
మనం ఒక 5 minutes వెయిట్ చేస్తున్నాము ఇంకా అందరూ జాయిన్ అవ్వడానికి. సో 5 minutes తర్వాత విల్ స్టార్ట్.
All of you, good evening.
గుడ్ ఈవినింగ్. గుడ్ ఈవినింగ్ ఉదయ్ సింగ్ గారు. గుడ్ ఈవినింగ్.
Good evening.
సో 1 more minute విల్ స్టార్ట్. ఎస్. Okay. So I'm going to start the recording of this webinar.
Recording in progress.
Hello everyone. So welcome to today's webinar. Today we are celebrating the occasion of 75 years of our India's constitution. So we adopted our constitution in 1949 on this day, on November 26th. So we have with us the Professor Purushotam Garu. He is the former head of Political Science Department at Usman University, and he's also a prominent environmentalist in Hyderabad and also in Telangana as well. So he has been working since long time on environmental issues and also issues related to political aspects. So our webinar is going to be like, it's for 45 minutes to 1 hour. Our speaker will be talking about journey of our constitution, what had happened before independence and after independence as well. So it will be 45 minutes to 1 hour. And after that, we'll have another half an hour for Q&A session. And majorly we'll be, speaker will be talking in English, and he also can talk in Telugu. He can also ask questions in Telugu as well after the conclusion of the talk. And right now we'll start our webinar with reading of our preamble. So I'm going to project the preamble and I'm going to read out the preamble. And you can also read when I was projecting this preamble to you. Yeah. Let me know whether you can see this uh, PDF or not. Is it visible, right?
Yes, Akash, it's visible.
Yes. Okay, I'm going to read this preamble like we. Yeah, today is the Constitution Day, so we need to start our session with the reading of the preamble. Okay. We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, and to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic, and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship, equality of status and of opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. In our Constituent Assembly, this 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact, and give to ourselves this Constitution. So this is our preamble of Indian Constitution. We have adopted our Constitution on this day 75 years back. So without any delay, I wanted to welcome Professor Purushotam Garu to share his thoughts on our 75 years of journey of this Constitution and what had led to draft this Constitution as well. Thank you, sir. I welcome you.
Thank you. At the outset, I am extremely grateful to Akash Sri Ramoji. I find in him a very young and dynamic, a resourceful citizen of India, very much concerned about the state of affairs in this country. I had opportunities of interacting with him earlier also. So today, he has invited me to give a lecture on the Constitution of India, which is my topic in political science. I was head of the department, Osmania Department of Political Science of OU, which is the largest department in the entire country. Whenever we are talking about the Constitution, it's important that we understand the country, the material that makes India. We are all aware that India has been a great continuing civilization. In fact, one of the greatest civilizations in the entire world. I am not talking or speaking from a narrow chauvinistic angle, but it is a fact of history that we Indians, particularly the way we have been living for thousands of years in a symbiotic relationship with our background ecosystem. We, the people in this country, we knew the value of the forests, the rivers, the different ecosystems, and we never really exceeded the limits of nature. And this kind of an approach is now hailed, particularly in the context of global warming, climate change. The whole world is appreciating. And recently, the government of India has come up once again with the concept of life, that is lifestyles for environment. And therefore, in that context, our ancestors were really knowledgeable. It was a knowledge-based society. And we had some of the world's best universities in India, both Takshashila and Nalanda. It is unfortunate that we, the people, we have been too good. We never waged a war outside India. Others took advantage and they came to India, conquering, destroying, capturing, looting. They not only took away the wealth continuously, hordes of dacoits and barbarians came, and we were always, particularly North India, was extremely looted. Not only that, they destroyed our temples, but in addition to that, they destroyed the universities. Today, if we visit Nalanda, it is a standing witness for the barbarous acts of the looters. Anyway, we come to modern times, say about after the Industrial Revolution, and we notice small little countries like Denmark, Holland, Belgium, then Portugal, France, England, all of them embarking on a mission to conquer as many lands as possible or make them their colonies. The intention was to once again loot, but this loot was of a different kind. Basically, they wanted to take away the wealth, the natural resources from their colonies. The reason is after the scientific inventions, of the 17th, 18th centuries, Europe had become technologically very well advanced. And they built large ships, they built huge navies in a very competitive manner between them. And finally, they thought that the time had come for them to embark. And ordinary companies like East India Company, a very ordinary, if we really look, estimate it or assess it from the modern transnational corporations that exist today, those companies were very ordinary, but they had superior weapons. As a result, they went about conquering many parts of the world. They also came to India, and because we, the people of India, though civilizationally we were at a very high level, unfortunately, we, the people in this country, were not united. As a result, these corporate, East India Company and subsequently the French and the Portuguese and the British, they all came and they, with their very well equipped armies, superior weapons, they took advantage of the differences of the rulers in this country and established their rule. And after that, with a very iron hand, they started, suppressing the rights of the people. And it was a horrendous tragedy that such a great civilization was captured by small little countries, and all because of superior technology. Okay, friends, we go further. When we are talking about the Constitution of India, we need to basically realize that liberating this country by itself was a very difficult thing, because we, the people, what happened because of the earlier warriors, the Mongols and then finally the British, when they came, we, the people, had actually withdrawn into our very self-sufficient villages. That is, we just withdrew, anticipating the hostile environment. The people of India withdrew into their homes and into their villages, and they remained there for nearly 200 years. And it was very difficult or extremely difficult for anyone to awaken the conscience of India. But however, small little initial efforts were there. And this country witnessed what is known as the Arya Samaj movement. Then subsequently the Brahma Samaj movement with Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Arya Samaj movement was led by Swami Dayananda and others. In Bengal, because Bengal those days was, highly awakened, sensitized, and a galaxy of
ఎంతమంది participants? 34
and a galaxy of top leaders. Bengal produced, we can say, a very big crop of national poets and writers and thinkers. And so among them, we can straight away take the names of Sri Aurobindo, Bankim Chandra Chatterjee. He was the one who wrote that very famous novel, Anand Math. And it was Anand Math which had stirred the soul of India. And particularly there is a poem in that, which is song, Vande Mataram. In Bengali, it is Vande Mataram. And that was picturizing India as a mother, and mother in chains because it was now enslaved by foreigners. So, and it was something, glorifying the mother and motivating the youngsters of India to liberate it. The same concept was also strengthened by Sri Aurobindo, one of the greatest spiritual thinkers and philosophers of India. And his brother Barin Ghosh was a forerunner of, we can say, if I am allowed to use the word extremism, that is, he thought that merely appealing to the Britishers to leave will not help. They have to be scared away. So he took the method of violence, and he inspired a large number of people. But in North India, we had Lala Lajpat Rai, an Arya Samaji and one of the greatest orators those days in Punjab area. And what happened is when there was a call to oppose the Simon Commission with the Britishers, they wanted to take it to their advantage, and the Indians had opposed it. So, and in that lathi charge, Lala Lajpat Rai was seriously injured and he died thereafter. So Bhagat Singh was a witness to that horrendous incident. And Bhagat Singh vowed to kill the officer who injured Lala Lajpat Rai. And he did it. We have seen all that in so many films about Bhagat Singh. The people of India know. But his greatest thing was that he entered Parliament and along with his friends, and there he released pamphlets demanding from the gallery of the Parliament, he threw pamphlets into the Parliament House demanding for asking the Britishers to leave. And of course, it was just a throwing of pamphlets, but it had caught the attention of the nation. So it's a matter of, after some days of conviction and court hearings, Bhagat Singh, Rajguru, and one other, Sukhdev, they were hanged. But the hanging of these three youngsters really stirred the soul of India, and it appeared as if the entire country had reacted, of course in silence, because we were still not a nation. But in their heart of hearts, every Indian wept, and this is to be taken note of. Now I go back to 1885, though in our history books, 1857 is considered as the first war of independence. Unfortunately, it was confined to a few kingdoms in North India, a few families, a few like Jhansi ki Lakshmi Bai, and quite a few, another 3, 4 kings, and including the Mughals. They all came together to wage a war against the Britishers. The story is different, I'm not going into all the details, but just take note that 1857 is normally described as the first war of independence, but it was not massive. It was not even national level, and because the attempt was small, it led to a great failure. But then after that, we, as already pointed out, quite a few cultural teams like Arya Samaj, Brahma Samaj, and the Bhakti movement, they played a great role in sensitizing, galvanizing the people of India, and enabling them to understand themselves better, because this was needed to instill a sense of pride in them. So that kind of, you may call it as renaissance or revival of interest in ancient literature. All this ultimately awakened the soul of India. And then meanwhile, the affordable sections of India, some of those who could afford or who got some kind of a fellowship or a scholarship. Quite a few youngsters had gone to UK and they studied law. So not only Gandhi, but a large number of Indians, they had gone to UK for higher education, particularly law. And they were a witness to the kind of governance that was existing those days. The form of government in UK was parliamentary form of government. So our people, highly educated, young lawyers, including, of course, Sri Aurobindo was not a lawyer. Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose also was in UK. And he, was selected for those days British civil service. Similarly, Aurobindo also was selected, but then he refused to go for the horse riding test because he did not want to serve the Britishers. Both Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose and Sri Aurobindo, they returned to India and they started working with the people. But the Britishers felt very uncomfortable with Netaji, and therefore Netaji had to go outside India to seek the help of Hitler. Enemy's enemy is our friend, that concept. Germany those days was an enemy of Britain, therefore he went to Germany, Japan, and he tried to meet the Soviets. In other way, we can say that Netaji tried to internationalize India's freedom struggle, and he wanted the help of Germany, Russia, and Japan. Of course, Japan later on did render help because the Indian soldiers who were captured during the Second World War by Japan, they were all handed over to Subhash Chandra Bose, and he formed what came to be known as the Indian National Army, INA. All this was going on one side. On the other side, I come to Gandhi now because that is very important when it comes to the first part of understanding how India became free. Gandhiji, like several of our Indians, he went to UK, studied law, and after that he came back to Gujarat. But then he got an opportunity to go to South Africa. I'm sure many of you would have seen that film, Gandhi film, by Richard Attenborough. And in that film, you see that Gandhi was asked to get down the train, or maybe he was pushed out of the train onto the platform. But Gandhi was Gandhi. He had his own techniques. And here I have taken very heavily from him. I was inspired by him. I call it as the technology of protest. So Gandhi, while helping his clients in South Africa, he saw the situation there. And he was a witness to the kind of segregation that was going on, the apartheid policy, how the blacks were segregated, isolated, and looked down. and they were not allowed to share the common facilities in a society. So Gandhiji was invited to help them. So while addressing them, he slowly educated, sensitized, and told them that the enemy is very powerful. But if all of us are united and peaceful, there's a better way of, instead of violence, we can, by peace, we can make them realize, and in fact, we can score. This was the thing, and he played a great role. His endeavors resulted in great success. In fact, while in Africa, Gandhiji was already recognized by very eminent people like Leo Tolstoy and several others in USA. Martin Luther King was inspired by him subsequently. Several, almost all the great personalities, highly educated, sensitive politicians in the entire world, they drew inspiration from him. Now the question is, when Gandhiji came to India, by then he was already a global personality. So this point is very important. I request all of you to note. Gandhiji did not become world famous by leading India's freedom struggle, but he was already world number one when he returned to this country after his successful experience in South Africa. Okay. We come to the date 1885 because I'm not going into the details. From 1885 to 1905, normally political scientists and the historians in this country, we consider it as the first phase of India's freedom struggle, where I know it was very difficult, and we are a witness to the wonderful role played by Gopal Krishna Gokhale, Dadabhai Naoroji, Pirosha Mehta, and Madhav Govind Ranade. Now, if you notice, all these four personalities, three are from Bombay. Gopal Krishna Gokhale is, he was from Pune. And they played a great role. Actually, there was nothing like a visible demonstration against the Britishers. But then it was important that they started writing about the miseries and the sufferings of the people. And by petitions, they were drawing the attention of the Britishers to help the poor and the needy and the depressed and the displaced. So, and those were the times when India was plagued by so many diseases. Smallpox was a killer, plague was a killer, malaria was a killer. So these four dynamic people, highly educated, masters in excellent English, they were great draftsmen, and they would highlight the miseries of the people, and they were able to get some of the issues solved. But then when we come to 1905, the Britishers wanted to control Bengal, and therefore they thought it is something like a divide and rule policy. They embarked upon a policy known as the division of Bengal. Now, by then, Bengal was highly sensitized and highly educated, and some kind of a belligerent Bengal. There was restlessness, and when the Britishers wanted to divide Bengal, the Bengalis resisted it, and that led to a great struggle. It unified the people in Bengal, a very big state with highly educated people. So that is where we can say that a great what we call liberation struggle started. Now, after this, and along with this, we see Bal Gangadhar Tilak trying to sensitize the people in Maharashtra through, because you see, it's very important to notice that the leader needs to connect with the people. And therefore, for that purpose, the leader needs to go where people congregate. For thousands of years, the people of India congregated on various religious occasions. So, but in Maharashtra, the congregation was because of Ganesh Chavti celebrations, and Tilak and his friends would go there and speak in Marathi and sensitize them about the need to liberate this country, and slowly educating, sensitizing, spreading legal education. They were great teachers, and also they were great orators. And finally gave the slogan that Swaraj is our birthright. That is, yes, it is our right to be free, and therefore we need to come together and, demand, not beg. So political science, in our subject, the first four eminent people like Dadabhai Nauroji, Pirosha Mehta, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, and Madhav Govind Ranade, they are described as moderates in some textbooks. But this is not to belittle their contribution. Please remember, friends. It was extremely difficult in the initial years to create a major agitation. When that particular ground was ready after about 20 years, when Tilak entered the fray, he took it to the next level. So now how do we describe this? So an agitation which was confined to the urban cities of Calcutta, Bombay, and near Delhi or in Punjab, a few cities. Slowly, these agitations were regionalized. That is, from Bombay it spread to Maharashtra, from Calcutta it spread to Bengal, the full state, and because of Arya Samaj and Lala Lajpat Rai and others, it spread to the Hindi belt. Now the question is, this is not to say that in other areas nothing was happening. For example, in the Telugu-speaking areas, we had Alluri Sitaramaraju, we had very eminent people like Prakasham Pantulu, N.G. Ranga. Similarly, in Tamil Nadu, in Kerala, everywhere, the local elites definitely they played a great role. In Tamil Nadu, Subramanya Bharati, then Rajaji, so many people contributed. They came out, they left their professions. And here, you youngsters, I request you to note that nothing can be achieved without sacrifice. So this generation from 1885 to 1947, we see, very eminent people, highly educated people setting aside their, they left their professions and spending money from their pockets. They contributed to the freedom struggle. Okay, come to 1920, around 1920, when Gandhiji was comfortably asked to lead the freedom struggle in this country. Because when Gandhi arrived around 1915, that period, he was given a hero's welcome in the harbor, Bombay harbor. Almost all the political elites of India were there, standing in a row and welcoming Gandhi. Because by then Gandhi was already world famous, and none of the Indians had that kind of a stature. So but Gandhiji was always inspired by Gopal Krishna Gokhale, so he goes to Pune and then seeks his advice. Gokhale advises him to travel in India in the third class compartment of Indian Railways and get in touch with the people, because it was quite some time that Gandhiji had gone to South Africa, and he wanted Gandhi to understand, once again, reconnect and try to understand the society that is India. So our friend Gandhiji makes a move and then he travels and everywhere he was greeted. There were thousands of people in every station trying to get a glimpse of Gandhi. And when Gandhi reached Bihar at a railway station known as Champaran, the poor farmers, they were there in hundreds and thousands of people. They all came to the railway station and, the typical, they were in one slogan, Gandhiji, they were praying, Hail Gandhiji, like Gandhiji ki jai. So Gandhi had to come down, step onto the platform to meet them. And, but after listening to them, they were all farmers producing indigo, and they were exploited by the British companies, low wages and neglect and punishments and all that. So Gandhiji, when he saw their plight, he discontinued his journey and he followed them. And thereafter, there was never a going back. Because Gandhi connected with the poorest of the poor in this country, and he was with them in their hour of crisis. So that only explains. Later on, because Gandhi was the only, or in other words, the first politician in the entire freedom struggle to connect with the people. Others, they also connected, but in a different way. Like, I told you about Tilak connecting with the Maharashtra population. But then, under the guise of Lord Vinayaka festivals. Similarly, in Lala Lajpat Rai, Arya Samaj, and like that. But whereas on a problem which was affecting the people, it was Gandhi who connected, and he tried to help them because he had he already had this experience of working in Africa and trying to help them. Then thereafter, Gandhi never stopped. Somehow he could establish his identity with the people of India. And the people of India started looking upon Gandhi, as their leader. This is a wonderful connection because he was the first national leader of the entire country. And the whole country was looking to him for guidance and leadership. And please also remember that Gandhiji was not a great orator because, he hailed from Gujarat. So Hindi was not his mother tongue. And people of India those days, the knowledge of English speaking was not much. And his Hindi was broken Hindi. But all said and done, people understood what he said because and even the way he dressed and spoke, his dress and his language, everything connected with the poorest of the poor in this country. Okay, now we come to quick fast forward. This is not to belittle the contribution of several others like Sardar Patel, Nehru, Dr. Ambedkar, and so on. But it's important that we realize that the Britishers also, they were having their fingers on the pulse of the people and sensing the discontent among the Indians and also realizing the demand of the people of India for self-rule. They started giving some kind of a concessions, and that is why we call it 1909. I request all of you to note 1909 Government of India Act, then followed by 1919 Government of India 1919 Act and 1935 Acts. These three acts passed by the British Parliament can be described as some kind of a concession just to meet the pressure put forward by the people of this country through the freedom struggle. And they were basically aimed at appeasing or, trying to meet the demands of the Indian public. But all said and done, those three acts, particularly the Government of India 1935 Act, is normally taken as a skeleton for the Constitution of India. It provides the basic structure upon which other things were added. But in addition to this, it's important to note that the annual sessions of the Indian National Congress, every annual session was something like a step forward towards the making of the Constitution. For example, we had this session on fundamental rights and then federalism. All these, they were basically approved. There was a lot of discussion in the annual sessions of the Congress, which were conducted in different states and cities. And the intelligentsia of India, I request all of you to know, they were attending these sessions. And those days, the Congress was not a political party. It was nothing but the freedom struggle. It was something like a congregation of India's freedom fighters or people who wanted India to be free. And therefore, the Congress before 1947, it was never viewed as a political party, though after the Government of India 1935 Act, there were elections in in the regional provinces, and Congress party contested. At that particular time, it presented a semblance of a political party, and well, that was the situation. But on the whole, when we have to assess Congress party, we can always say that it was something like a forum for freedom lovers, and that was a congregation. We come to as we come towards reach 1945 onwards, the end of the Second World War, and the dropping of the two nuclear bombs, by America in Japan, destruction of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and Subhash Chandra Bose trying to wage a battle, Indian National Army, and his very powerful speeches and his wonderful personality inspired the soul of India. All those things were happening. But when the Britishers, when they gave hints and they wanted Indians to prepare themselves to receive power, they requested India to exercise making of the Constitution. So here I would recommend to all the youngsters who are following this, that they should view the 8 episodes by Parliament TV, earlier Rajya Sabha TV, directed by Shyam Benegal from Hyderabad. The making of India's Constitution, popularly known as the Sansad. Sansad is Parliament TV. And Samvidhan, they are titled Samvidhan. Samvidhan in Hindi means the Constitution. But actually, the commentary is in English, so I'm sure all of you can easily follow. So those 8 episodes are very, very inspiring and very easy for all of us, because that will picturize the making of the Constitution to the contemporary generation. And I have gone through all those episodes multiple times, and I can see how difficult, I can visualize how difficult it was for the leaders or the members of the Constituent Assembly to agree on or making of a Constitution. It was not an easy journey, because they were, on one side, there was not much of political education, but we were lucky to have some of the very eminent people like B.N. Rao, Dr. Ambedkar, and several others like Dr. Rajendra Prasad, Sardar Patel, Rajaji, and not only these, but several other personalities. They all contributed. Durgabai Deshmukh was there. And from Telangana, towards the later stages, Dr. Reddy was there for a very short time. But we go a little further. This yeah, the same 8 episodes. So I request all of you to view it. But the making of India's constitution, there was a lot of discussion on every aspect of the constitution, on fundamental rights, on directive principles, on federalism, and even on the language, because please imagine India, and its diversity, social, cultural, linguistic diversity, and the vastness of the country. And imagine India those days without internet, without the smartphone, how difficult it was. But then they did a great job, and they were able to draft a constitution, thanks to the wonderful contribution made by Dr. Ambedkar. B.N. Rao was the person who was in charge of the drafting. He was there, something like a ready reference for the Constituent Assembly, and quite a few intellectuals. So that part I request all of you to please go through these Samvidhan 8 episodes. Then finally, on this day, 75 years ago, the Constitution was adopted. And 2 months later, that is 26 January 1950, the Constitution was put into implementation. In other words, the Constitution became a reality. Now the question is, India's Constitution, it is the largest constitution in the entire world. And drafting of the constitution for a country like India, it's not easy. The highlights of which I'll just brief you. The first and foremost is universal adult franchise. And the whole world was watching India. How can India with such a low literacy and extreme poverty, how the world was watching. And they were commenting that India was taking a big risk, but India had its own advantages because thanks to the wonderful role played during the freedom struggle, the tremendous sensitization that went into the making of the Indian nation, not just by one person, Gandhi, but all the leaders, and the overall ethos, what we call, the result of the total freedom struggle was the awakening of India's soul, and a universal adult franchise, which the Constitution guarantees, was a great success. Our first election, second election, with the people of India, their voting pattern and, the result of the elections, all those indicated that India was slowly graduating into a competent democracy, successful democracy. Okay. In addition to the universal adult franchise, the kind of discussion on fundamental rights, what a wonderful, right from 1950 onwards, this country was always reporting, there was always a great debate, the abolition of the Jagirs and the Jamindaris, and cumulatively, so many changes were happening in this country. The matters went to the Supreme Court quite often, and Supreme Court also was giving extraordinary judgments. So making of a modern day India, it did not happen overnight. It was a long drawn struggle. As we proceed, we notice that our experiences in federalism, initially to begin with center-state relations, all those things were going on. Our party system, of course, there are quite a few aberrations. I'll come to it later. But for a nascent constitutional democracy, for a young republic, India did extremely well. That is because, and all the commentators have given that India was what it was because of the wonderful freedom struggle, where the people of India, protested on peaceful lines, particularly the concept of satyagraha, non-violence. And it is this freedom struggle which inspired the colonies of the world. And please remember, friends, that after India became free, the rest of the colonies also got liberated. And nearly 100 countries, 100 areas, colonies in the entire world, they became free. And the inspiration was India. India then was a global leader. India was inspiring those countries. So it was not just Gandhi and his team, inspiring India, but they were actually global personalities inspiring the colonies of the world to stand on their own feet and to work for freedom and also come together to make their constitutions. Now the question is, there is always a comment saying that so many countries became free after India became free. They also took to democracy, they took to constitutionalism. But a large number of countries, they collapsed and went back to dictatorships. Whereas India did not collapse. Our constitution continues even today. There are a lot of negative things. I'll come to it slightly later. But let us appreciate what really deserves. 75 years of India's constitution, 75 years of as a republic. We have survived. Now, the constitution itself has been quite responsive. This word is very important. Whenever there was a need of for an amendment, the Parliament of India could change it. Of course, subject to the procedure, we have different methods of changing the constitution depending upon the area, the part of the constitution, fundamental rights, and so many other sensitive issues they require two-third majority, but otherwise creating a state and naming a state, it requires a simple majority. It's a very interesting thing. That is why the Constitution of India had responded to changing times multiple times. As a result, today, 106 times the Constitution was amended, and the last one was the Women Reservation Bill. And of course, many are in the pipeline. But we need to be very clear that our Constitution was never rigid. At the same time, it is not very flexible either. It is midway, but all the same, the Constitution, the Parliament of India could, because Parliament in a democracy it is supreme. Ours is a parliamentary form of government. They have all the power when it comes to the making of the changes in the Constitution, and they were able to do it whenever the need arose. So I request all the youngsters to go through the 106 Constitutions amendment. But for me, I consider the 73rd, 74th Amendment very important and very significant for this country. 73rd, it deals with rural local governments. 74th deals with urban local governments. So these are very, very important, and I request all of you to please go through it. And now we move a little further. I come to the contemporary times. It has not been, I always say that the progress has not been all that easy. It was challenging. And our understanding, that is when I say the government of India and the state governments in this country, they had one advantage initially. That is, they had one single party, both at the center and almost all the states in the country, and that was the Congress party. That is, when India became free, India's national movement was converted into a political party, and it contested. Earlier also it contested after the 1935 Act, but after independence it became a political party. So initially we had one dominant party system, that is a Congress center and Congress states. So that advantage was there because initial years, the center-state frictions were not much, and we were able to proceed. India laid a very strong foundation when it comes to public sector undertakings, whether it is BHEL, IDPL, IDL, and so many public sector undertakings. And we were able to create an R&D for this country. I'm not saying it was sufficient, but a good beginning was made. Later on, we had our own darker sides when Madam Gandhi, Indira Gandhi, she imposed emergency, and that too for wrong reasons. And for about 18 months, Indian constitution was put in the deep freezer. Fundamental rights were suspended, and there were mass arrests. All the opposition leaders were put behind the bars in Tihar jail. And, throughout the country, there was suppression of human rights. We can say that Indians had this experience of some kind of a dictatorship, a massive dictatorship in the whole country. I was a witness. Those days, I was already a young university teacher, and I am a witness to the kind of destruction that happened. Then we saw once the emergency was lifted, the leaders who were in Tihar jail, when they came out, they formed a political party. And in no time, in a very short span of time, that particular party, that is the Janata Party, was swept into power. So they came to power and they tried to undo the damages done during the emergency. But certain provisions were allowed to continue. As a result, India, today we can safely say that India had an experience of a dictatorship, and therefore the contrast was available, democracy and dictatorship. So to that extent, it is fine. Now we are living in modern times. Friends, here I am coming to my subject, and I am happy Akash started with the preamble. He read it out. I just would like to suggest two small additions. And later on, I'm making it official right now by speaking. Somewhere the idea has to begin. And today, on this very important day, on the 75th anniversary of the adoption of Indian Constitution, I suggest I read out, we the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic. I request you to add sustainable. The word sustainable be added here. Sovereign, socialist, secular, sustainable, or your choice, democratic, sustainable republic. Okay. This is because right now, and also in the next line, justice, social, economic, political, and environmental. So these two words I am suggesting, as one who worked on the subject of environment for the last 40 years, having filed so many public interest litigations, I realize that these two words are very important. Today, the time has come. Let us be very clear in our minds. We are not going to be the last generation to live in this country. Life has to continue. We need to organize our activity respecting the limits of nature. And at the same time, we have to understand what is there in nature and organize our activity taking the positive aspects of nature into consideration. So, this word sustainable be added. Secondly, when it comes to in the justice thing, justice, social, economic, political, and environmental. Here the word environmental is, I drew heavily from Professor Robert Bullard. He's a leading professor in America, known as the father of environmental justice, a great sociologist. So I suggest that in this country also, because what is happening is governments both at the center, forget the political parties. I'm talking about the governments, central government, state government, and even the local governments, where they are allowed to function. They do not bother to define development, and they simply try to rub it on the people. They want to rub it on the people, and this thing, this is wrong. The laws of the land are very clear. We have the Prevention of Water Pollution Bill 1974. Pollution Control Boards came to be organized in 1976. We have the Prevention of Air Pollution Act 1981. In spite of that, India was a witness to the world's worst industrial accident, 1984 Bhopal gas disaster. Now we are already in 26th November. Another, how many days? Or about 7, maybe 1 week. On November 3rd, second night, third morning, Bhopal gas disaster, it occurred 40 years ago. It would be 40 years. The 40th anniversary will be December 3rd, early hours. Now the question is whether we as the people of this country have we learned any lessons. Can somebody say that such a thing will never happen? What are we trying to do? Every day, every policy in this country, or by all the political parties, including the left governments earlier in Bengal and presently in Kerala, they have no idea of the subject of environment, and they are causing the greatest of the damage. Okay, friends, this I suggest, and I wish to bring a few more points, because just to conclude, I don't know what is the time. Yeah, 8:04. So friends, I wish to now just to bring to your notice, in this country, we the people are not going to leave any ecosystem healthy. Every Indian city is a witness to increasing damaging air quality index. The whole of North India, and now recently even in Pakistan, the crisis was very serious. Air quality index crossing 1200 in Lahore, and most of North India it exceeded 600. Hyderabad city it exceeded 300 on a large number of days. What should be below, air quality index should be below maximum permissible limit, is quality air is 50. Air quality index should be 50. We have damaged the air, the water, and the land. Look at River Mosi or Ganga or any river in this country. Show me one river which is not polluted. So we the people, who laid down the constitution? It is we, the people. The whole constitution runs in our name. The first three letters of the constitution is we the people, and we are the people who have let down the constitution because we don't question, we don't bother. We have withdrawn into our individual family or home or job or small little avocations, and we have withdrawn. Today we are not a nation, we are individuals. You know, I am a witness to a time because I joined the school in 1950. The day, the month January I joined, 26 January we became a republic. And I remember the death of Stalin in 1952 while I was in the school. That was a big news. And, you know, we are all products. Of course, I did not participate in the freedom struggle. But then I witnessed the ethos of the freedom struggle. And, you know, our generation, we witnessed elections. There were elections in every college. Excellent leadership would emerge. We have seen the, you know, entire Osmania University would have one single union. Every college will have a union, and all, and you know, the executives elected in the colleges would elect the OUSU. There was democracy in the air. Osmania University, room number 57, we had invited who is who of the country. Raj Mohan Gandhi, one of the top professors, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, Dr. Ram Manohar Lohia, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, how many times he came to Hyderabad? Balraj Madhav, a whole lot of great intellectuals. And people would throng. After the emergency, I remember Jayaprakash Narayan coming to our exhibition grounds. And I was one of them. You know, there were at least 5 lakh people who came on their own. Everybody came on their own, and we heard Jayaprakash Narayan in rapt attention. That was Janata Party. People of India rose as one person for once. They rose as one person and threw the Congress Party into garbage. In fact, there was literally a photograph of Madam Gandhi's poster in the garbage, printed in all the leading papers. Today, we the people are not making a common cause. We don't bother about the air quality index or the water contamination. Hyderabad is encircled by chemical industries. And what is the big quality of life? How many of the kids are suffering? A health report about New Delhi says that the average Delhiite, you know, the age is reduced by 12 years. Where are we going? So and you know, in the previous 10 years, not naming the party, when Telangana became free, the first 10 years was the loot of the sand and the hillocks and the lakes. I'm not justifying the present government. You know why all these things are happening? Because Indian political parties are controlled by the corporates. There is nothing like a membership drive. There is no transparency in the political party. Sometimes it appears as if anybody can go to the counter at a political party, pay some money and get a ticket. This is not political development. Actually, political science or public service is supposed to be like very sacred. This is the noblest profession in the entire world, serving the people through politics. Noblest. But unfortunately, in India, dirty people have entered politics. Politics is not dirty. I request all of you to note this. People tend to say, oh, politics is dirty. No, it's only dirty people have entered politics. And the good people are confined to their respective homes or to their individual pursuits of small little things. What India now requires is another freedom struggle. The spirit of India's freedom struggle needs to be revived. We need to weigh a struggle for our survival here, to breathe clean air, clean water, to organize development which is sustainable. Why should we build a huge lift irrigation project in Kodangal when the whole thing can be solved at 1/10 of the cost? Kodangal, it is estimated to cost, everything 6,000 to 8,000 crores. In 600 crores, 1 lakh acres can be cultivated, and three crops in a year. I request all the youngsters who are listening today to visit Gotigaripelli in near Zahirabad, Kohir. In Kohir, but the route is, you can take two routes, one from Vikarabad, the other from Zahirabad. I have gone there. My friend Shashidhar Reddy was a witness. Under his leadership, we went there. And ultimately, just a few trenches here and there, depending upon the local geography and contours, they are able to harness the rainwater, increase the groundwater, and they are growing. Right now, you go anytime, you'll find crops. Throughout the year, 3 crops, and they are all small farmers, 2 acres, 1 acre. Gotigarpilli is an example. In looking at Gotigarpilli's success, Rajasthan government has implemented in 33 districts. What prevents Telangana government to copy it? It was started in Telangana. I don't know why, unless the governments are more interested in the contractors and in the commission. Unfortunately, friends, we need to liberate the political parties and the political system of the middlemen, the brokers, and the contractors, and the corporates. Today, even the media is in the grip of corporates. So I really am grateful to Akash. I'm also grateful to Dr. TSPR channel for the wonderful initiative they have taken. And Dr. Shiva Prasad Reddy, highly educated. He has taken the initiative, and today I'm grateful to both of them for this wonderful opportunity. And thank you very much. Now, any questions? Not that I alone will answer, but it can be a discussion. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Just a second. Yeah. Thank you, sir, for wonderful talk. You have shared your all experiences with us. It's really thought-provoking lecture. You have took us from whole the struggle of freedom, and after that the making of constitution, and also what happened in the last 75 years. And what amendments you have suggested are really beneficial for the next generation of this country, uh, including the sustainability word after the democratic in the space of the republic, that whole sentence, and
And
also
even
another word.
environmental justice.
Yes, yes. Even our justice movement of India, we believe in this four justices: social, economic, political, and environment as the basis for whole justice concept. And you said this justice, environmental justice, should also be included in the preamble. Even that is really need of the hour in our country. Yeah. So even we also got to know that our Indian Constitution itself a progressive document, but that should also be amended to include this environmental justice as well. So, so thank you for suggesting all these amendments. And right now, I open the floor for the questions. You can unmute yourself and you can ask the questions to the sir. You can ask in Telugu and also in English. Sir can also answer in Telugu as well. Anybody, if you have the questions, you can raise your hand so that I can unmute you. మీరు ఎవరైనా క్వశ్చన్స్ అడగాలనుకుంటే హ్యాండ్ రేజ్ చేయొచ్చు. సో సో అన్మ్యూట్ చేసుకొని కూడా మాట్లాడొచ్చు మీరు. యా సత్యపాల్ జీ, యా కెన్ యూ అన్మ్యూట్ యువర్ సెల్ఫ్?
Yeah, I did. Thank you. Professor, very good evening. It was a very enlightening conversation, enlightening talk, I would say. In fact, the journey, what you almost all furnished in front of us from the 1800s to till date, it was mesmerizing, in fact. In fact, many parts we always missed in the history lectures. I don't know how come that missed in the history. I think just we are not sure how it missed. But leaving that aside, you talked about adding the environmental dimension in the justice part. We do agree. But at the same time, when the entire world is running towards the growth of like GDP growth, and it is, one would say, to meaningless growth, but ultimately taking almost 500 million people out of the poverty in India would be the first concern more than the environment. This is what most of the people say. I'm not sure how it will be, because when so many people are like within the poverty, how would we say that now environment? Because when you talk about the environment, ultimately what happens is you need to install the capacities to serve that kind of a thing. Okay, that kind of a growth that requires a lot of money. Where do we get the money? These are the practical problems right now India is facing. Just I would like to have the way ahead, because this is everywhere, wherever you go, this is a common topic nowadays. Yeah, please.
So very good question, sir. Observation, actually. It's a wonderful observation, but I would like to answer, add to the discussion. You raised a very valid point. What most people think is that it is extremely difficult to go in for sustainable development, which is wrong. I gave you one example, no, just now. I told you about Gotigarpelli and, and the Kodangal example. In Kodangal, the government of India, government of Telangana, they want to go in for a lift irrigation project. And actually, the government records say it's going to cost about 8,000 crores. Whereas Gotigarpelli, if we follow four water concept, in actually we have calculated in about 400 crores. I actually added 200 crores more. In 400 crores, we can provide water for 1 lakh acres for 3 crops. Whereas the Kodangal model, it is, even if the lift irrigation project is completed, it will provide water for only 1 crop, and there will be recurring expenditure. Whereas in the model which we suggested, there is no recurring. It's one time. So when there are schemes like this, why can't we? It is simple thing. Understand nature, understand the limits of nature, then understand what is there in nature for us. Then organize development. Organize development, taking those factors into consideration, that development will be sustainable. Now, one more point. I'm happy Satyapalji has raised that question. All of us, we people, people of this country, we have to reduce our carbon footprint. And what my friend has suggested is, when he is talking about growth, in this country, no government has defined growth. What they think is growth is not really growth. In fact, the time has come for the entire world to go in for a degrowth. Decarbonization is the way out. And we have to collectively reduce our carbon footprint. How are we going to reduce? Has there been any parliament session on climate change? Nothing. Has any political party conducted, R&D? Do they have research and development within the political party to discuss what model of development they should go? And what are we doing? We the people, we should be in the forefront. We should be setting the agenda for political parties. I appreciate Akash. He has been working on these issues, but let us all come together. I hope many more youngsters will join, because our generation, I'm 82 running, only when more and more youngsters join, only then there is hope. And let there be open discussion. See, when we are protesting, for example, I took up so many cases. I directly party in person. I have appeared multiple times in the High Court and also in the Supreme Court, and always won. But then the question is, we have to create more youngsters. My student is there, Donti Narasimha. Quite a few of them are doing, but that is not sufficient. Many, many more. If Akash can organize a leadership training program, we will come, and we will, not only me, there are many friends of mine, B.V. Subbarao and so many. We will all come there, and for 3 days, 4 days, whatever. You don't have to pay anything to us. It is our very pleasant job to sensitize them and guide them.
Yeah, thank you, sir. We have another person, Ravi Babu Garu. Yeah, if you want to unmute.
Yeah, good morning, sir. Very good evening. నా పేరు రవి బాబు పిట్టల సార్. నేను మీరు నాకు తెలుసు సార్. నేను మీరు చెప్పినటువంటి ఈ ఉపన్యాసం చాలా బాగుంది. అయితే చాలా వివరంగా చెప్పారు. సో ఇంతకుముందు సార్ కూడా అదే విషయం చెప్పారు. నేను దానికంటే ముందుగా నేను అడిగేది ఏంటంటే సార్, మిమ్మల్ని నిజంగా రాజ్యాంగ ఫలాలు అందరికీ సమానంగా అందుతున్నాయా? ముఖ్యంగా పేదవారికి, బిలో పావర్టీ ఉన్న వాళ్ళకు అందుతున్నాయా? ఎందుకు అందట్లేదు? దానికి ప్రభుత్వాలు ఎందుకు చిత్తశుద్ధితో పనిచేయట్లేదు? అదే డబ్బున్న వాళ్ళకి, పెట్టుబడిదారులకి, క్యాపిటలిస్టులకి, అదనంగా విదేశీ వాళ్ళకు కూడా వ్యాపారం చేసుకునేందుకు రాజ్యాంగం లోపల కొత్త శాసనాలను, అమెండ్మెంట్స్ ని తీసుకొని వచ్చి వాళ్ళకు అనుకూలంగా మారుస్తున్నారు. ఈ దేశం యొక్క ఆస్తులను కొల్లగొట్టుకోపోవడానికి ఒక ఏజెంట్లుగా పనిచేస్తున్నారని నేను అనుకుంటున్నాను సార్. ఈ రకంగా ఉంటే నిజంగా మనం ప్రజాస్వామ్యాన్ని అనుభవిస్తున్నామా అన్న ఉద్దేశం ఉంటుంది. ఇక రెండవది, నేనొక మామూలుగా పర్యావరణ ప్రేమికునిగా నేను మిమ్మల్ని అడిగేది ఏంటంటే, ఇప్పుడు ఎన్విరాన్మెంటల్ క్రైసిస్ అన్ని రకాలుగా మీరు ఇందాక చెప్పారు, గాలి, నీరు, భూమి అనేక రకాలుగా కాలుష్యంగా మారిపోతుంది. కాబట్టి దీనికి ప్రభుత్వాలు రాజ్యాంగ పరంగా ఉన్నటువంటి చట్టాలను అధికారులు కానీ ప్రభుత్వాలు కానీ ఎందుకు ఫాలో అవుతలేరు? ఇప్పుడు మీరు అన్న చట్టాలు, ఎయిర్ పొల్యూషన్ యాక్ట్ 1981, వైల్డ్ లైఫ్ యాక్ట్ 1972, వాటర్ యాక్ట్ 1974.
క్వశ్చన్ అడగండి అంతే.
ఇలాంటివి ఎందుకు అధికారులు, ప్రభుత్వాలు అమలు పరచట్లేదు? ఆల్రెడీ ఉన్నాయి మనకి. సో అదే విధంగా ఇంకొకటి సార్, ఇక్కడ చదువుకున్నటువంటి ఈ విద్యార్థులు, ఈ దేశం వాళ్ళకి ఎందుకు ఉద్యోగాలు కల్పించలేక మన దగ్గర చదువుకొని తెలివిని సంపాదించుకొని ఖర్చులు పెట్టించి బయట దేశాలకు వెళ్ళి వాళ్ళు డబ్బు కేంద్రంగా బతుకుతున్నారు. ఏ జ్ఞానాన్ని అయితే ఈ దేశం నుంచి పొందారో ఆ జ్ఞానాన్ని ఈ దేశానికి ఉపయోగపడినప్పుడు రాజ్యాంగానికి మనం ఏం విలువ ఇస్తున్నట్టు, ప్రభుత్వాలు ఏం చేస్తున్నాయో నాకు కొంచెం క్లారిటీ ఇవ్వండి సార్. థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్. థ్యాంక్ యూ వెరీ మచ్.
చాలా చాలా బాగా అడిగినామన్నా. ఒక బ్రీఫ్గా చెప్తా. ఫస్ట్ థింగ్ ఏంటంటే, మీరు చట్టాల గురించి అన్నారు. వాటర్ యాక్ట్, ఎయిర్ యాక్ట్, ఎన్వైరన్మెంట్ యాక్ట్, ఫారెస్ట్ యాక్ట్, ఇవన్నీ చట్టాలు ఉన్నాయి. కానీ మన దేశంలో ఈపీఏ లేదు కదా, ఎన్వైరన్మెంట్ ప్రొటెక్షన్ అథారిటీ. ఈపీఏ పెట్టాలని సుప్రీంకోర్టు డైరెక్షన్స్ ఇస్తే కూడా ప్రభుత్వాలు పెట్టలేదు. ఆ పాయింట్ మీరు దయచేసి గుర్తుపెట్టుకోండి. ఎన్వైరన్మెంట్ ప్రొటెక్షన్ ఏజెన్సీ, ఆ పేరు ఏజెన్సీ అనవచ్చు, అథారిటీ అనవచ్చు. అది కూడా ఎట్లుండాలంటే, ఎలక్షన్ కమిషన్ ఎంతనైతే పవర్ఫుల్ ఉంటుందో, అంటే నో పాలిటీషియన్ కెన్ ఎవర్ డిమాండ్ ఎలక్షన్, దాన్ని ఇన్ఫ్లుయెన్స్ చేయలేరు. అదేవిధంగా ఈపీఏ పెట్టాలి. దట్ ఈస్ వన్. ఈ మిగతా విషయాలన్నీ ఏంటంటే, మనము ప్రభుత్వాలను, పొలిటికల్ పార్టీస్ను బ్లేమ్ చేసే ముందు మనం ఒకసారి మనల్ని మనమే చూసుకోవాలి. మనం ఏమన్నా డిమాండ్ చేసినామా? మనం ఎందుకు మాట్లాడతలేము? గౌరవనీయులైన మనం అంటే ప్రజలు. వీఆర్ సైలెంట్. మనం సైలెంట్ కనుక పొలిటికల్ పార్టీస్ డామినేట్ చేస్తున్నాయి. ఆ పొలిటికల్ పార్టీస్ కార్పొరేట్స్ గుప్పిట్లో ఉన్నాయి. మీరు చెప్తున్నారు, నేను చెప్తున్నాను, అందరికీ తెలుసు. బట్ ద టైమ్ హ్యాస్ కమ్ ఫర్ ద పీపుల్ ఆఫ్ దిస్ కంట్రీ టు ప్రొటెక్ట్ ద కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్. వీ ద పీపుల్ అని ఉంది. ఫస్ట్ 3 లైన్స్ ఏముంది? మన కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్. We wrote the constitution. Every elected person gets power from the constitution. మన కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్ వాళ్ళు ఇంప్లిమెంట్ చేయకుండా మనం ప్రశ్నించాం. మీకు మా స్టోరీ జస్ట్ ఒక్క ఎగ్జాంపుల్ చెప్పి ముగిస్తాం. పటాన్ చెరు అనే ఒక ఇండస్ట్రియల్ ఏరియా, హైలీ పొల్యూటింగ్, అందరికీ తెలుసు. అక్కడ డాక్టర్ కిషన్ రావు, మేము ఎంసీ మెహతా ద్వారా కేసులు వేసినాం సుప్రీంకోర్టులో. 40 ఆర్డర్స్ వచ్చినాయి అన్న, 40 డైరెక్షన్స్, ఒక 25 years పేరు మీద. యాక్చువల్గా ఒక సుప్రీంకోర్టు జడ్జి జస్టిస్ కుల్దీప్ సింగ్, ఆయన నిన్న చనిపోయాడు. ఇవాళ ఆయన ఫ్యూనరల్ అయింది. రిటైర్డ్ జడ్జి, పెద్ద మనిషి. ఆయన రిటైర్మెంట్ అయిన తెల్లారి, ఈరోజు రిటైర్ అయినాక తెల్లారే పటాన్ చెరువు వచ్చాను. దాని మీద ఎన్నో జడ్జ్మెంట్స్ ఇచ్చి మళ్ళీ ఒకసారి చూద్దామని వచ్చాను. ఆయన వెంబడి జస్టిస్ భగవతి వచ్చాను. 40 ఆర్డర్స్ వస్తే ఈడ మన స్టేట్ చీఫ్ సెక్రటరీ ఇంప్లిమెంట్ చేయకుంటే ఆ చీఫ్ సెక్రటరీని అరెస్ట్ చేయమని కూడా కేసు వేసినాం. వాళ్ళు అక్కడ జడ్జిమెంట్స్ వస్తున్నాయి, ఇక్కడ ఇంప్లిమెంట్ అవుతలేదు. ఎందుకంటే ఇక్కడ ప్రజలు వీఆర్ నాట్ యునైటెడ్ అన్న. ఇండియన్ ఫ్రీడమ్ స్ట్రగుల్లో ఎంత టైం పట్టింది, ఎంత కష్టపడితే యూనిటీ వచ్చింది. ఇండిపెండెన్స్ వచ్చిన 20 ఏళ్ళు చాలా బాగుంది. డాక్టర్స్గా పనిచేసాం, అడ్వకేట్స్ పనిచేసాం, ఇంజనీర్స్ పనిచేసాం. అందుకే కొంత ప్రోగ్రెస్ అయింది. కానీ ఇప్పుడు ఏమైంది? అందరు సెల్ఫిష్ అయిపోయింది. ఎవరికి దొరికింది వాడు ఏది దొరికితే అది తినేస్తుంది. సో మళ్ళా ఆ స్పిరిట్ ఆఫ్ ఇండియాస్ ఫ్రీడమ్ స్ట్రగుల్ మనం రివైవ్ చేయాలి. దాని కొరకు సిన్స్ ఆకర్ష్ లీడర్షిప్ క్వాలిటీస్, నేనేమంటున్నానంటే మీరు పొలిటికల్ ట్రైనింగ్ క్లాసెస్ పెట్టాలి. ప్రొఫెసర్ రాజూర్కర్ అని మా టీచర్ ఇంకా ఉన్నాడు, వారు వస్తారు. ఫ్రీడమ్ స్ట్రగుల్ మీద ఇది ఇండియా నెంబర్ 1. పార్లమెంట్ హౌస్ ఎన్ఎక్సీలో 4 days కంటిన్యూస్ లెక్చర్స్ ఇచ్చాను వాళ్ళకు. వారు వస్తారు, నేను ఉంటాను, సుబ్బారావు గారు, సో మెనీ ఆర్ దేర్. బిలీవ్ మీ ఫ్రెండ్స్, we will all come and everybody is free. మీరు కూర్చొని వింటామంటే నేను చెప్పడానికి మా డ్యూటీ అది. వీఆర్ టీచర్స్. సో ఇట్ ఈస్ వి ద పీపుల్. మనము కదులుతలేం కనుక సిస్టమ్ కదులుతలేదు. ఓకే రవి బాబు, అండర్స్టూడ్? ఎనీథింగ్ ఎల్స్?
Yeah, so there's another question, sir, in the chat. I'll get back to Satyapalji. So Rahul asked a question. So natural resources were owned and maintained for ages by the people and communities in our country. However, after the creation of Indian state, the respective boards of the states have snatched away the control of resources from the communities. Even though 73rd, 74th amendments decentralized the political power in theory, it continues to stay as a symbolic lip service. So he's asking a question: is giving back the control of the resources to the local communities the key to the sustainability? If yes, what's the way forward to fully devolve the power to them?
One immediate suggestion is, I request ఆకర్ష్, మీరు ఏం చేయాలంటే ఇవి ఉన్నాయి కదా మన గవర్నమెంట్ ఆఫ్ ఇండియా పవర్స్ అన్ని, యూ హ్యావ్ ద సెంట్రల్ లిస్ట్, స్టేట్ లిస్ట్ అండ్ కన్కరెంట్ లిస్ట్. అయితే స్టేట్ లిస్ట్లో ఎంట్రీ నెంబర్ 5 ఈజ్ లోకల్ గవర్నమెంట్. Now let us be realistic. Why should it be there in the state list? Why should the state control local government? You put that in the concurrent list and then you see the miracle. Local governments will be liberated. Secondly, we have to transfer more powers to the local government. More powers. Unfortunately, the state governments they have given as little powers as possible. For example, I'll give you the best example. Hyderabad city, right? Akash, 150 corporators. ఎంతమంది? 150 మంది. దాంట్లోకెళ్ళి ఒకరు మేయరు, డిప్యూటీ మేయర్ అవుతారు. Now, one point I want to tell. ఈ 150 మందికి కలిస్తే even if they pass a resolution, they are not in a position to appoint their municipal commissioner. They are not in a position to appoint their police commissioner or director general fire services. వాళ్ళకి ఏముంది వీళ్ళు కూడా they don't exercise their power. They can demand కదా. Note 150 corporators. I don't see the logic. Why are they silent? So same thing in the villages. Grama Sabha is organized, but Grama Sabha decisions are not implemented by the state government. So the will of the people. What is Grama Sabha? It is democracy at the grassroots. It is direct democracy. That is being suppressed by the state government. So it has to be rectified. So immediately what is it that we can do? Ante from state list, you delete entry number 5, place it in the concurrent list.
Yeah, thanks, sir. So, Satyapalji, do you want to ask a question?
Yes, sir. నేను తెలుగు అని బై ది వే స్పీకింగ్ ఇన్ ఇంగ్లీష్. ఐ వాస్ సపోజ్ టు స్పీక్ ఇన్ ఇంగ్లీష్. ఓకే, ఏం లేదు సార్. ఇంతకుముందు ఆయన 73rd 74th అమెండ్మెంట్ గురించి మాట్లాడారు. అండ్ యూ ఆన్సర్ ఇన్ వెరీ ఎక్సలెంట్ వే దట్ సెక్షన్ 5, ఆ పర్టికులర్ 5 should be devolved to the local governance. Then only it can see the results. You are talking about collaborative governance and all. But the point is, unless and until they have the sufficient funds and the powers and the accountability, do you really foresee a future for 73rd and 74th amendment to have a better future?
So one point I just wish to bring to your notice. 73rd, 74th amendments, the spirit with which they were passed was wonderful. I know the professor who wrote those amendments, Professor, I'll tell you just now. Okay, I'll just, later on I'll tell. He was working in NIRD, Professor Shivaya. I request you to know. Professor Shivaya, M. Shivaya, a great political scientist. He was requested by the then Prime Minister to draft the legislation. Okay, he did a great job and he was my teacher. I am a witness to the entire discussion. The spirit with which it was introduced in Parliament, Rajiv Gandhi could not get it passed because they didn't have majority in the Rajya Sabha. P.V. Narasimha Rao got it passed, though he did not have sufficient numbers, but somehow he convinced the other political parties and it got. Now the question is, there was a lot of dilution in order to get the support of other political parties. And that is why entry in the state list, entry 5 was there. Otherwise, it should have been in the concurrent list. That is one aspect. Second aspect is, as per the 73rd, 74th amendment, we have State Election Commission, State Finance Commission. Now, these people, these commissions are namke vaste. They don't really assert their power. They are supposed to be autonomous, but they don't do it. As a result, it is the local government which is suffering. Nobody knows what the powers and functions of the Finance and State Election Commission. Now there's another point I wish to add. There is what is known as a doctrine of implied powers. Doctrine of implied powers, I request everyone to note. And initially, this is from America, Chief Justice Marshall. In America, what happened initially, the federal government was it was created weak. Initially it was weak. Initially it was confederal, then they made it federal, but nothing. Now the question is, one in that famous Marbury versus Madison, you know, the judgment, the Supreme Court Chief Justice Marshall, he gave the wonderful judgment. He said, there is what is known as a doctrine of implied powers. Now, if the local governments, for example, GHMC Hyderabad, or any Gram Panchayat, What happens if they implement? If they go beyond the limited power that has been given, you can draw n number of powers from the limited powers. That is under the doctrine of implied powers, and Supreme Court and several high courts in this country have already suggested if somebody is doing good, nobody is going to stop it. And particularly in a village, it is very important. And if the Grama Sabha decides, the collector will shiver in his pants to intervene. People are supreme. The question is, we the people, we don't bother, we don't ask, we don't demand. We are confined to our small little interests, and that is what is hurting this country.
Yeah. Yeah, there's another hand. Shiva, do you want to ask?
Yeah, thank you, sir. Yeah, hi, Purushotam. There are fundamental duties that we have to bound by the Constitution. There are, it's our right, it's our duty to protect our lakes and all those things. And many of the politicians are violating those things. They are not protecting the environment. They are not protecting they are violating the Constitution laws. Can there any laws if anyone violating those things, will those people can be punished?
So it's very simple, once the people are sensitized and when they begin to be active, it is possible. For example, we should make this an issue during the time of election. We, the people, don't talk, we don't bother, and many of us don't even care to go to the polling booth to exercise. We have to be choosy. You choose an environment-friendly, people-friendly legislator. You know them. You select the right person, and you make these issues. You release your own manifesto for the constituency. So citizens have to come together, have a town hall meeting or meet in the Grama Sabha, discuss, and then we need to take it further. It can be done. But the problem is now how to get the citizens involved in public affairs. I already said public service is the noblest service. But, unfortunately, dirty people have entered politics. Otherwise, politics is always clean. It is service. It is not power. It is an opportunity to serve.
Yeah. Not only the politicians. You can take action on the politicians by voting them. But what about the people? As their duty to protect lakes, rivers, and forests, all those things.
Now, here I'll give you one example which I personally did. We were mobilizing the people demanding water in the drought-prone regions of Kolhapur, Nagar Karnool, Kalvakurti, Achampet. And those days, the government of AP then, they prepared a master plan to lift the water from Kolhapur, from the backwaters of Krishna. So very peacefully, myself and my friends, Dr. Govardhan Reddy and quite a few others, we went to the people, we explained them, we even prepared maps and we distributed the maps in every village and told them that their village will get water if they begin to demand. Meanwhile, what happened? The elections came. And in Kalvakurti, one sarpanch by name Kishta Reddy, he was just a sarpanch. He was very much interested in this Jalasadhana movement. So he was with us and he was working day and night. So he organized a big meeting in Kalvakurti town and about 10,000 people attended because he was already Sarpanch and connected with the people. In that particular meeting, I raised the hand of the, Kishta Reddy and I told the people, look, we are all working to get water to this drought-prone region. I can assure you, if you elect this person, this time all of you vote for this individual because he is your man and is working for the same topic. So when I convinced them, they all agreed. And in that election, this gentleman won as an independent on the issue of water. Everything is possible. He won with a narrow margin. Maybe he was lucky. But then all the political parties were biting the dust and this gentleman won. So the question is, when we want to do something good, for example, I'll give you one more example. Just about 4 years ago, roughly 3 to 4 years ago, we were able to stop uranium mining in Nallamala. The Adivasis came. I stay in a farm in a village beyond Shadnagar right now. So they came to me. They gave me a call and they came. And they came because they knew that earlier also 22 years ago we were able to stop uranium mining in Nallamala. So because of that experience, they came. They invited me. On the first day, they arranged 3 meetings in 3 villages. Believe me, I'm telling you the truth. Today's India is different. Today, everybody has a smartphone. This I request all of you to note. And almost everybody in the villages, they have a 2-wheeler motorbike. Right? There is a TV set in the village, in their homes. Now, the point is, in quite a few homes in Nallamala, there are graduates, postgraduates, and even doctorates. So today's India is highly educated. They may be poor because public policies are not in their favor. So when I addressed those 3 meetings, everybody was recording with the help of this smartphone. And by evening, they shared in their WhatsApp. Everyone has their own groups. Man is basically a social being. So they have their own groups. They shared information. And by next day morning, they literally gave notices to their MLAs. If you are going to support uranium mining, you need not enter our constituency. There was no violence, but people have a right to demand. You can't be disturbing our habitat. We live in this forest. And once you resort to uranium mining, and the local MLA had signed, he was in that committee which gave the signature, forest committee. He was, what happened? The kind of pressure that was generated, it was good enough to compel them to go to the Chief Minister KCR then and tell him, sir, if you continue with this uranium mining, then we will not be able to go to our constituencies. Immediately, the Chief Minister, seeing the writing on the wall, went to the assembly and announced that he was opposing uranium mining and that he will stand with the people to oppose. So this is what I am trying to say. It is we the people who are supreme. But we are like Lord Hanuman. We forget our strength and somebody has to, give us the confidence. This is not, we need to realize, regain our strength, our confidence. And in a democracy, even the Constitution of India expects its citizens to be active and dynamic and safeguard the Constitution from the usurpers. And they are in the garb of corporates.
Yeah. Sir, we have 10 more minutes. I'll ask you the question by Renuka Garu. తెలుగులో రాశారు. దృఢమైన దేశ కళ మన పరిస్థితులకు అనుగుణంగా సవరణలకు అనుగుణ అనుకూలమైన అనుకూలమైన ప్రపంచంలోనే అతిపెద్ద రాజ్యాంగం మనది. ఇంత దృఢమైన మన రాజ్యాంగం ఈ మధ్య క్రైసిస్ లో ఉందని, విధ్వంసానికి గురవుతుందని రాజ్యాంగం పట్ల గౌరవం, అభిమానం ఉన్న వాళ్ళు కొంత ఆందోళన వ్యక్తం పరుస్తున్నారు. దీనికి మీ నుండి కొంత వివరణ ఆశిస్తున్నాను.
It's very, we are not only with the Constitution of India, అంటే చాలా పెద్ద Constitution, నెంబర్ ఆఫ్ పేజెస్ ఎక్కువ అని కాదు. It is the lengthwise world's lengthiest Constitution. పాపులేషన్ వైజ్ కూడా మనమే కదా గౌరవనీయులైన మనం. We have the highest number of people there, in the most, in terms of numbers, we are highest. So it is world's largest democracy, world's longest continuing democracy. అంటే అమెరికా ఇవి ఉన్నాయి కానీ మనం ఇంత పెద్ద మెగా సైజ్ లో కంటిన్యూయింగ్ డెమోక్రసీ, బికాజ్ అవర్ రిపబ్లిక్ కంటిన్యూస్ టు బి 1947 నుంచి లెక్క తీసుకున్న 50లో రిపబ్లిక్, it has been continuous except for the emergency period which can be described as the dark period, but otherwise we are a democracy. మనతో పాటు ఇండిపెండెంట్ అయినటువంటి అంటే సెపరేట్ గా ఏర్పడి పార్టీషన్ అయ్యి పాకిస్తాన్ ఏర్పడ్డది. ఇట్ వాజ్ నెవర్ ఏ కంటిన్యూటీ. ఎప్పుడు మిలిటరీ గవర్నమెంట్ వస్తుందో ఎప్పుడు డిక్టేటర్షిప్ వస్తుందో వాళ్ళకే తెలియదు. సో ద క్వశ్చన్ ఈస్, definitely we have been able to come together, somehow we are continuing, కానీ దీంట్లో ఇది సరిపోదు. We need, all of us, we need to be very very clear. మనందరం కొంత సెల్ఫ్ అనేది పక్కకు పెట్టి పబ్లిక్ కొరకు పబ్లిక్ ఇష్యూస్ మీద డిస్కషన్ టైం ఇవ్వాలి. మనం ఓటు వేయలేక కూడా మనల్ని బతిలాడాల, అది మన బాధ్యత కదా. ఫండమెంటల్ డ్యూటీస్ లో చాలా విషయాలు ఉన్నాయి. పర్యావరణ పరిరక్షణ మన బాధ్యత. అండ్ ఇన్ఫాక్ట్ నోబడీ కెన్ స్టాప్ అస్. నేను 40 ఏళ్ల నుంచి చేస్తున్నాను, నన్ను ఎవరు ఆపలేదే. I only tell them I am only discharging my duties as per the Constitution. Article 51A enjoins upon me to defend the Constitution and also defend the environment, protect the environment. So నేను only So chief ministers and prime ministers may not be doing their duty, but we the citizens, we are definitely questioning, opposing, challenging all the wrong policies of the government, environment unfriendly, people unfriendly policies. మనం చేయాలి అంతే.
So we'll take one last question, sir. We are almost end of the webinar. 2 hours aitundi. So Sonu ji, he joined from Bihar. So Sonu ji, आप कुछ पूछना चाहते हैं क्या? You can also ask in Hindi, Sonu ji.
हमारी हमारी आवाज जा रही है आकर्ष भैया?
या आप वीडियो ऑन किया क्या?
जी जी जी।
You
बहुत
can
बहुत
आप
आकर्ष भैया, मेरे मन में कोई सवाल नहीं है। कुछ सवाल ऐसे थे जिन्होंने जो किए हैं उनमें कुछ मिलता जुलता था, तो उसमें मुझे जवाब मिल गया है। पहले तो मैं आपको आकर्ष भैया आपको धन्यवाद देना चाहूंगा कि आज संविधान दिवस पे आपने सही मायने में और सर को बुलाया, और सर के का एक दो डिबेट मैं सुना भी हूँ कई बार कई चैनलों पर। तो आज मुझे उनके साथ जुड़ने का ये मौका मिला आपके माध्यम से, मैं आपको इसके लिए कोटि कोटि धन्यवाद देता हूँ। दूसरी बात कि सर ने इतने अच्छे तरीके से को सब समझाया, और सबसे बड़ी बात ये प्लेटफॉर्म जूम गूगल मीट विवेक्स नहीं होता तो मैं सोचता हूँ कि बिहार में बैठकर कैसे ये सारी चीजों को सुन पाता। और सभी तब ये आज की डेट में अगर युवा को कहा गया कि लोग भटक रहे, और संविधान दिवस तभी सही मायने में सार्थक हो पाएगा, मुझे लगता है जब तक सामंजस्य हम लोग नहीं बना पाएंगे अपने आप में, जहां रहते हैं वहां से इसका स्टार्टअप नहीं करेंगे, तब तक कुछ भी नहीं हो सकता है। और सकारात्मक भावना के साथ ही कुछ काम को किया जा सकता है, तभी जाकर के संविधान दिवस के मायने हम लोग को समझ में आए। और हमारी दुनिया व्हाट्सएप यूनिवर्सिटी में एक दब कर रह गई है। आज के समय में देखा जाए, जब से ये सोशल मीडिया आया है तब से हम लोग इसके माध्यम से दिग्भ्रमित होते आ रहे हैं, और लगातार ही दिग्भ्रमित होते जा रहे हैं। तो ये हालात तब तक रहेगा क्योंकि हम लोग इस अध्ययन से, जैसे सर ने बताया महात्मा गांधी जी के बारे में उन्होंने पॉइंट्स दिए। क्या आज के युवा पीढ़ी का सबसे बड़ा जो पॉइंट्स और बिंदु है महात्मा गांधी के बारे में, वो क्यों ऐसा है? कुछ नेगेटिव भावनाएं धारणाएं आ जाते हैं मन में, ये व्हाट्सएप यूनिवर्सिटी की कारनामे है। मुझे लगता है कि जब तक हम व्हाट्सएप यूनिवर्सिटी की दुनिया से निकलकर किताब की दुनिया में नहीं जाएंगे, उनके अध्ययन के बारे में नहीं जानेंगे, तब तक हमारी टिप्पणियां करना किन्हीं भी ऐसे महापुरुषों के प्रति हमारे लिए मुझे लगता है कि गलत है। और खासकर आपने आकर्ष भैया ये कार्यक्रम करवाया, क्योंकि मैं देख रहा हूँ जनसंख्या 29 से 30 लोग ही जुड़े हैं और 40 लोग ही, मगर सर ने जो व्यू और पॉइंट्स दिए हैं, अगर आप इसकी रिकॉर्डिंग हम तक पहुंचा देंगे तो मुझे लगता है जो सुनेंगे सर की बातों को वो मुझे लगता है इससे ज्यादा से ज्यादा लोग जागरूक भी हो पाएंगे। सर ने बहुत ही सही मायने में सही इंफॉर्मेशन दिया है, जो कि मैंने डायरी में भी मैंने नोट किया सर का। मैं उनकी सारी बातों को नोट कर रहा था। सर को मैं तो बहुत दूर में बैठा हूँ। मैं सर, मुझे पता नहीं प्रत्यक्ष रूप से मिलने का मौका मिलेगा या नहीं मिलेगा सर से। मैं दूर से ही सर का चरण स्पर्श करना चाहूंगा। सर ने इतनी अच्छी बारीकी से जानकारी दी है कि मुझे लगता है कि प्रैक्टिकली हम लोग, जैसे मैं मीडिया का छात्र हूँ, और भी जो अन्य विषय के साथ, जो सब्जेक्ट के साथ जो जुड़े हुए लोग हैं, उसमें अगर ईमानदारी पूर्वक किसी महा विद्वान वक्ताओं का सुनकर जमीनी स्तर पे काम करेंगे, तो मुझे लगता है संविधान दिवस के मायने सचमुच में पूरे हो जाएंगे। जब हम जनहित में सारे सब्जेक्ट को लेकर जनहित से संबंधित होकर सब सब विचारों को सोचेंगे, समझेंगे, तो मुझे लगता है ये तमाम दिवस सारे पूर्ण हो जाएंगे। सामंजस्य बनाकर चलना है, हाथ मिलाकर चलना है, तब जाकर के एक वासुदेव कुटुंबकम की जो बातें करते हैं ना, ये प्लेटफॉर्म हम लोग को वहां तक जरूर पहुंचाएगा। धन्यवाद।
Thank you, Sonuji. Thank you for joining us today.
I would like to just be brief while answering our Sonu Bhai's. He's a journalist, and I'm happy that he is attending. Um, I could have answered in Hindi. I understand all Hindi films, but my communication in Hindi is not effective. But all the same, Sonu Bhai, you raised a very valid question because you are from Bihar, and that means North India. I want to just caution you. There is a book by name The Ministry of the Future. The Ministry of the Future, written by Ken Robinson. It is a scientific novel intentionally written to explain the subject to the people of the world. That particular book says that because of air pollution, because of climate change, because of that deadly combination of heat and humidity in North India. It's not just North India. Recently, even Pakistan suffered. So that belt, south of Himalayas all along, because of the typical meteorological conditions, the inversions of the air, it's going to be very tough. And that book projects that millions of people are going to die in that region. I'm not creating fear. You also go through the book and you verify. He talks about the wet temperatures crossing the possibility of recording more than 36 degrees. Dry temperature, this time it touched more than 50 degrees in North India. But wet temperature, that is, if a thermometer, if you touch the bulb of the thermometer with a wet towel or wet handkerchief, and if the temperature recording is 36, you can take it for granted. That means that our body cooling capacity will collapse. That is our human body, coming out with perspiration and natural cooling system. If once that collapses, then our life will be endangered. So just by way of precaution, I appreciate Sonu Bhai's comments, but I don't know in which part of Bihar he is. I'm planning to visit Nalanda. At that time, probably I can get in touch with him.
Thank you. Sir, would you like to take one more question is in the chat?
Yeah. My friend is watching from America, Dr. Indrasena Reddy.
Okay. Yeah.
He has been working on River Mosi. He's an environmentalist, basically.
Yeah. So Dr. Indrasena Reddy. So
Yeah, he's from America. Right now, he's there. Yeah, you
welcome.
please put the
Yeah, the
question.
another question is, what are the steps to be taken to decrease the capitalist mindset of the people?
No, unless we, the people, when I say we, before we talk of somebody else, individually, all of us are pursuing the same path in pursuit of happiness, in pursuit of more and more wealth. We are all worshippers of Lakshmi only, in a different sense. What are we doing? Each one of us going in for real estate business or whatever. We are not putting comma or full stop when it comes to amassing wealth. In fact, I request our friends to know there is a French philosopher by name Rousseau, and he talks about the two wills, and that is every person has two wills. One is the public will, and the second is the personal will. Nothing wrong if we wish that we should be happy. To that extent, fine. But if our needs are fulfilled, we should be happy. But then we all want to be greedy, go on amassing wealth and wealth and wealth. We don't know where to stop. The second thing is public will. Every person has a desire that everybody should be happy. But then for that, we need to reduce our greed. So that is why, concludingly, as Mahatma Gandhi has very clearly said, there is enough in nature to meet the needs of all, but not sufficient to satisfy the greed of the few. With this, I think we can conclude.
Yeah. So
And
thank you.
Akash, one word once again, thank you so much for you in person, and also to my friend Dr. Shiva Prasad Reddy of Dr. TSPR channel, and all participants. I wish all of them all the best in life.
Yeah. So thank you, sir. Thank you for spending 2 hours of your time on this day, November 26th. It's a 75 years of our Indian Constitution. It's a long way to go. I think what I understood from the Indian Constitution is like it's not just a legal document to formulate a political system, but it's also a document where we want our yes.
Fine.
Okay then.
Thank you.
Thank
all.
you. Thank you everyone for joining us today. I'm closing the meeting in 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Thank you.